A vital component of our lives that helps keep us healthy, and one that wouldn't necessarily spring instantly to mind, is the way that we connect with other people.
Our community is made up of the people we're linked to in our lives, our families, our co-workers, people who share our religious beliefs or our hobbies and pastimes.
Our links to the rest of the world out there are vital for our health.
You may have heard the term social isolation used in relation to poor health. It makes you think of someone living by themselves with little interaction with the outside world. Actually, social isolation in itself is not what's bad for you. More than a quarter of adults in the United States lives alone, and not all of them are lonely. Some people are quite content to lead a very quiet life. What does seem to be related to health problems, however, is the feeling of loneliness.
Loneliness has been linked with many physical health conditions, including high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, problems with the immune system, and dementia.
It's also linked with mental health conditions such as anxiety and depression, and an increased risk in suicide.
Some of the statistics are really very startling. In people who are lonely, the risk of dementia is increased almost by 2/3, and the risk of death is increased by 1/4.
For many conditions, loneliness can both be cause and effect. For example, early dementia can lead someone to being less sociable, and at the same time, social isolation can lead to less mental stimulation. The same applies to obesity. People may shut themselves off from society because of their obesity, and at the same time, the resultant loneliness can lead to emotional eating and worsening of their weight problems.
Loneliness can also occur at any time in life. It may actually surprise you that the highest risk is in young adults, aged between 16 and 24. In our modern society, people may be constantly connected to each other online, but lack face-to-face connection. Other times it can be lonely are when your children are young. Life is busy, you may never actually be alone, but you can definitely be lacking in adult company. It's thought about 10% of those over 65 are lonely.
Other factors that increase your risk are being male, single, or in poor health.
It's interesting to consider the effect of social media on loneliness. We're at a point in history where it's never been easier to connect to others online, but despite that, social media can actually make us feel worse. We see other people's perfect, happy families, but forget how one-sided our view is. People never post pictures of the bad times. Online connection is not the real thing and can't take its place.
So why does being connected to those around you improve your health? It's an interesting question, and not one to which there's a very clear answer just now. The feeling of loneliness seems to increase the level of the stress hormones in your body. And there's also a theory of social control, where people that are part of a group tend to encourage positive health habits amongst the rest of the group.
There has been research into people that live in the blue zone areas of the world. These are populations that have particularly long life expectancy, for example, parts of Sardinia. One of the elements that is seen consistently in the various blue zone populations is that there is a close sense of community. Families live together or nearby.
So how can connecting to others reduce our risk of loneliness and improve our sense of community? It can feel quite a scary thing to put yourself forward and try to connect. It can also be a really difficult thing to admit to both yourself and others that you're lonely. We'll work through some ideas over the coming videos.